I'm Mia Mason. I'm running for Congress here on Maryland's Eastern Shore. One of the biggest concerns and issues that we have is our traffic, our education, our health care, and our civil rights that are being taken away by our representative that is currently in office, and I seek to change that as an LGBT candidate. First, he came after our immigrants. He came after our national origin. He came after our color. He came after our LGBT community. And then he came after me. And that's where the mistake happened. Don't Ask, Don't Tell ended without including transgendered soldiers. Yep, the Obama administration failed transgender soldiers. It didn't include me until later on. That's when I decided that I needed to come home to Virginia. But I couldn't come home. There was no equality at home. I came home to Maryland and DC, where there was equality. That wasn't true either. I got kicked out. I had to fight. I got on NBC News, fought against that administration, got back in, and then it was like deja vu. July 26th, first thing in the morning, Donald J. Trump said, "We're doing you a great favor. We're kicking you out. We deserve to serve." The men and women deserve diversity in this armed forces.
What's
First,
really
he
a
came
shame
after
is that
our
when
immigrants.
these tests, it says on
He came
there,
after
it's a
our national origin.
30% inaccuracy
He came
rate
after
on
our
these
color.
tests. So you have someone
He
like
came
my
after
mother,
our LGBT
who
community,
she's
and then he
symptomatic.
came
I mean,
after
across
me.
the board,
And that's
they
where
did a
the
flu
mistake
test
happened.
and everything, blood work. He has a respiratory virus infection, but then she takes the corona test, and it's it's in the
Don't Ask,
not
Don't
enough
Tell
information or
ended
not
without
detected
including
negative
transgendered
thing.
soldiers.
But when you're talking about 3 out of 10 people,
Honey.
The Obama
there's
administration
a mistake in the
failed
test.
transgendered soldiers.
I mean,
It didn't include me
we're not even
until
close
later
to
on.
solving the problem.
That's when I decided that I needed. I'm Mia Mason. I'm running for Congress here on Maryland's Eastern Shore. One of the biggest concerns and issues that we have is our traffic, our education, our health care, and our civil rights that are being taken away by our representative that is currently in office, and I seek to change that as an LGBT candidate. I'm Mia Mason. I'm running for Congress here on Maryland's Eastern Shore. One of the biggest concerns and issues that we have is our traffic, our education, our health care, and our civil rights that are being taken away by our representative that is currently in office, and I seek to change that as an LGBT candidate. I'm Mia Mason. I'm running for Congress here on Maryland's Eastern Shore. One of the biggest concerns and issues that we have is our traffic, our education.
Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode. Hey everybody, thank you for joining us on our broadcast today. My name is Rachel. I know you can't see me. I'm having some problems with my camera today, but I am the campaign director for No Death Left Behind. Here with us hosting our town hall, we are lucky enough to have Scott Dworkin. He will also be answering some questions if you have any today. And I will be monitoring Twitter and Facebook if you have any questions for us on there. And of course, you can use the chat function on this webinar. So go ahead, Scott, if you have anything to say for our introduction.
Sure. I just want to give a kind of pitch that's out there. We started a group called Mass on top of being a doctor. We got to keep that up. But that's definitely something I'm proud of working on right now. I hope everybody's having a safe night at home right now. I hope that you are not outside at all. I hope you're wearing a mask if you do go outside, no matter what. And I hope that everybody in your family is safe and sound. And if they're not, we are with you. We are, we support you, and I hope the best for you and your family in these trying times. Tonight we're gonna talk about some policy. Obviously, there's a lot of things on our minds about the COVID, and we're gonna make sure that some personal stories come out there as well. But it's really about the future of the Democratic Party and making sure that no Dem is left behind. So we have
wonderful candidates with us tonight, again, just stay home, stay safe, and disinfect your groceries. Take everything seriously. This is real, and don't listen to who won't even bring them up. Until we have the questioning, which every question will probably be surrounding him and his party. Next, do you want me to go, Rachel, into introducing the candidates?
That would be great. I think everybody, most people who are on this call might already have participated in the town hall, so they might know everybody. But yeah, if everybody wants to do a quick 1-minute introduction of themselves.
My name is Nelson. I'm running for the House of Representatives to represent the Florida 17th Congressional District.
Hey, Chris.
I'm Chris Rowe, originally from Johnson City, Tennessee, and I'm running to represent Tennessee's 1st Congressional District in the 2020 election.
Maya.
Hi, my name's Mia Mason. I'm in Maryland, running for 1st Congressional District. Don't worry, Maya is acceptable. And I'm a veteran, a friend, and an advocate of all communities.
Great. I thought it was Mia at first, and I changed it to Maya because I heard Maya, so I just wanted to make sure that I get it right. Cindy?
Yeah, so I'm Cindy Banyee, Dr. Cindy Banyee, and I'm a congressional candidate for Florida District 19. That's Fort Myers and Naples area. I'm a mom and small business owner, and I'm fighting for our water, our health, and our community.
Awesome. So let's get started with Alan. Alan, if you wanted to tell us maybe about what's going on in your district right now, what you're feeling on the ground there in Florida.
Well, prior to COVID-19, the issues were much different. The environment was the biggest concerns in the district because we have a great deal of corporate waste that's been dumped inside of our aquifer here in Florida. We also have the blue-green algae problem, the red tide problem. So, the environment is one of the bigger issues. But now that COVID-19 is here, jobless claims have gone through the roof. We have a government that isn't really doing much to help. We also have a health care problem as the healthcare workers and the healthcare facilities are not fully functional with PPE supplies. So it's a real tough time right now, and it doesn't look like it's going to be getting better anytime soon. So just trying to spread the word for people to stay safe, make sure they're not going out and basically causing problems to become worse. And then the other thing is trying to navigate the campaign in this new age where we have to do everything digitally. So this is the state's largest congressional district. It covers 9 counties. So outside of COVID-19, there are a number of issues that are unique to each county.
Right on. Mia, can we go with you? My best friend, Andy Harris, you're running against him. I've worked in Maryland for a long time now. So what's happening in your district right now?
Well, he seems to be going out like Mike Pence to go visit places. Earlier in the month, he went and visited Lowe's. I tell you, he's more concerned about boat sales and getting other small businesses back up and going, which is important, but we have to actually wait for the governor to make that decision, not him, not I wouldn't be able to make that decision if I was elected either, because that relies on the governor. People this weekend are going to be coming out in a protest from Frederick all the way down to Salisbury, and they want to reopen Maryland. So I'm going to make sure I get my signs out there and tell them, like, hey, this is going to be your new representation coming in Maryland, because we have a couple poultry factories out there down in Wemico, and their workers are scared to come to work. Even in the grocery store, went out, had to, because, it went low on groceries. People, look at you. They look at your mask. They look and see if you're being safe too. People have to follow that one way. And I know Representative Harris probably has somebody else buying his groceries for him.
I absolutely would bet on that based on my knowledge about him. Cindy, what's going on in Florida in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, so in Florida 19, which is actually just south of Allen's district, so we're actually neighbors of sorts here. Like you're saying, before the coronavirus came out, water was the biggest issue, and now it's actually pivoted. The priority for all of us is, of course, health. That's my second most important issue that I have been working toward, and that has a lot to do with my daughter, who you'll probably hear bashing on the door here at some point. She's 3, and she has been ill for most of her life, and so we have been home, and home for weeks before we were told to, because she's somebody who's in that vulnerable population. And that's what's going on here in South Florida. And actually, if you had called on me about 1 minute earlier, you would have heard the helicopter going to the hospital that's right next to my house as well. And so one of the things that I've been really concerned about here in Florida is the fact that our numbers are not real. I'm a data scientist myself, and the fact that we have such little transparency on almost every issue and in the state of Florida, let alone this. And so they're playing around with residents versus Floridians. They're playing around with, the testing. It's very much batched. And they're saying, oh, everything is fine. They haven't included nursing home data. And so it's a big, big problem. Oh, that on top of the fact that we have the most unemployed people in the entire country, and we have a system that was designed to fail. So those things are really, really important in our district. But, the priority is keeping everybody healthy and safe and making sure that there is a life for people to lead after this is all done.
Right. No, and that's absolutely awful. I saw the reports, just to fill y'all in, there were reports that they were holding back numbers of ill and dead in Florida for days at a time from press and other entities. I'm not sure how far it went, but it was DeSantis' style. It's exactly how he operates. It's always operated like that. It's Trump through and through, rubber stamp Republican, and they're way too close. And there was a lot of similarity between the money he raised and some favors that he did for Trump, of course, because that's always the case. Thank you for that, Cindy. Appreciate it. Crit, I'm not sure if you could give what's going on in Tennessee. I wanted to say, thank you for your service, obviously, in the Air Force. Appreciate that, and over 7 years of your life. But if you could give us a lowdown, what's happening there in Tennessee in your district?
I actually have a whole laundry list of issues with COVID right here. And the very top of that list is Governor Bill Lee himself, who news broke just today has been hiding COVID-19 figures from the public. And I got a real good laugh out of seeing that news break, because on my way to work for my essential job working IT for the healthcare industry, I heard this whole statement from him about how important it was that he do everything in a way that makes sense, is consistent with data, and is conducive to the good health of everybody in Tennessee. And then that happens. But it goes way beyond that for me. This is personal as far as I'm concerned. I just this week found out that the nursing home that my grandparents live in, because they need constant care, now has confirmed cases of COVID in the facility, 2 of them. And I haven't seen my grandparents for over a month since this whole thing started. The facility's been on lockdown. But that news broken to me and finding out that there was a very real chance that I never see them again, that killed me.
That's why we have leaders like you coming soon to Washington. And the personal experience like that will benefit everybody, because that's really what we need, leaders that understand what the reality is, not some kind of made up fantasy land like they painted. I'm sorry that's happening to you, Chris. We'll talk offline to see if there's anything I can do to help in regards to that. I want to go back real quickly to Maya, who served for over 20 years in the Navy, Army, and DC National Guard. Just FYI, not that I did not forget, but it was in my notes and it was off to the side, so I need to scroll right sometimes. But this question's for everybody, but I'm going to ask you first. How do you feel about the summer of 2020? Do you feel like you're going to be able to knock doors, or what do you have planned as of now? Is it still a transition phase for your campaign?
It's not a transition phase. It's more of an outline of what we know, the insight that we have from the city councils and the agendas that they put out to make sure that we can proceed forward and then just to relaunch it. I'm aiming for Memorial Day, and then if we do get a second wave, I'm expecting it to kind of hit into June, 4th of July, for us to go into a real serious lockdown. We haven't done anything like any other country. We've kind of just done social distancing, but as you see, our numbers are double, near triple. So I want to go out and go door knock, but I don't want to get kicked out of the neighborhoods again.
Right, and we also don't want you to risk, obviously, getting sick, but that part of the job would be meeting people, but it's hard. If you want to lead by the example, then you have to stay home, and so it's really hard figuring out exactly what to do next. Alan, I was wondering, what is your plan for the summer? I'm not sure how it's going to be there, and there's a lot of I know there's a lot of questions about where we'll be a month from now and 2 months from now. So the answer of I don't know is fine too. But Alan, I'm not sure what your trajectory looks like going into the summer here.
Well, I'll tell you, from my understanding, it generally takes about 9 months to a year to get a vaccine for any virus. And the fact that we have a governor who is following suit with the president, keeping information from the public and trying to open things back up way too soon, I predict that it's going to have an adverse effect on people, and we're going to get back to where we are at square one. So I'm prepared to do an all-out digital campaign and do everything from a digital standpoint because, I believe in science and I don't believe in administration and anything that they tell us. I think that we have an individual who has narcissistic behaviors, and everything that comes from his mouth is about benefiting self. He only sees things on how it benefits him, not my wife is a doctor, and when I think about the conversations that we have, this isn't getting better anytime soon. This could be. We had a surgeon general here in Florida say we could be facing this for a year. We had people in the CDC that said as much thing. So we have to prepare to run a untraditional campaign. And at the same time, before COVID-19, I had a very aggressive campaign. I was speaking in as many as 6 churches every Sunday. So a lot of the things that I was doing then came to a screeching halt. But you have to be flexible at these types of elections because things do come up. And so I think that where we are now and what we're doing to build onto the momentum that we're gaining, I think we're going to be fine in this election. I'm very happy to be a part of the No Deal Left Behind movement, and this has given us even more reach because we have you're a powerhouse in the Democratic Party, and so to be speaking with you on this platform, I know it's going to help us out a whole lot to be able to reach more people. Thank you very much for coming on to this webinar.
Thank you, Alan. I appreciate it. I don't take compliments too well because I'm used to getting threats. So, that. I've always been a believer that no attempt should be left behind. I've worked in congressional races everywhere, including Wyoming, Idaho, places that no one else was willing to go and it's surprising. There's people who maybe they ran for Congress at first or something, and they became state senators, and they've been there for years now. I mean, there's a lot of different examples like that where it shifts. They ran for state house, and now they're a member of Congress. Like it evolves over time. But running, just getting out there and doing it is really important. Doing something for your country, especially in this time. It could be a really unique time to campaign, and I think people are going to be paying attention more than ever in districts that wouldn't be considered as competitive by some math makers or whatever. I consider competitive for sure because I think anything is possible. We won statewide in Alabama in a special election. Anything is possible. Okay, that's what I always remind myself of. Cindy, what's going on? What do you think is going to happen for you this summer? The election day, obviously, you're near Allen.
Hot girl summer. No, I don't know. Honestly, it's going to be crazy for me. And as I was saying last time, I have a pretty special circumstance. I'm a single mom of 3 kids, and my youngest has a history of blood disease, and we're already seeing that cancers and blood disease have a higher rate of vulnerability. She's already had respiratory failure, and she's been immune compromised. So, I mean, my whole priority is going to be safe for her. And I'm trying to be a leader for her and all the other kids in our community. But that means I'm going to have to take special precautions. So I'm going to be like Alan and make sure that I'm running my digital campaign to the best of my ability. But I'm trying to be innovative as well around some things that are exciting and get us out. So for instance, this weekend, I went with my kids. We did a CDC-approved socially distanced census parade through a neighborhood that's a hard-to-count neighborhood. And we painted up my mom's van. We threw the campaign, magnets on the side, and off we went behind the fire truck. And it was great. The kids had the windows down there waving, and the neighborhood people were coming out and waving. And it was a lot of fun, and it was a great way to connect with the community, provide some excitement and some joy, whilst, getting messages out around our community. So I think things like that. I have a bike tour planned through my district, kind of harkening back to my early days in the community of being a bicycle and pedestrian safety advocate for a community-based organization. And I have a bike that I hauled over from Japan that I'm going to throw my kid in, and we're going to ride, and we're going to stay very far away from everybody, but we're going to ride through neighborhoods, same kind of thing, and trying to make sure that people know that we're here, but that we're respecting the space that people need to be safe and through this time.
Oh, excellent. And Chris, I'm not sure if it's much different there in Tennessee, but what do you think is going to happen there? Because obviously, I'm not sure if things are going to be worse there or not, but I do agree with you that it's pretty devastating for the governor to act in the way that he did.
Yeah, I'm somewhere between wait and watch and try to get back into it as much as possible while respecting CDC guidelines, because we do have the governor actually trying to reopen the state right now. And if we do end up moving forward a little bit further with that, I think the best thing that we can do is organize some public but not public events, encourage folks to come out and still socially distance and make sure that you're not interacting too heavily, but still get that opportunity to go out and actually meet folks. But I would prefer that we keep this campaign a little bit more digital and engaging with folks in that direction. And to that end, we're actually working with an advertising agency in the area who has agreed to give us a wonderful deal on getting some edited footage out there, because they need work during COVID and we need advertising. So it's a little bit of a match made in heaven there, and that's something that we're working on putting together right now. We've been drawing up concepts for about a week now on exactly how we're going to do this, but hopefully we'll put out some, pro-nurse and pro-healthcare worker and frontline folks type material, and that's what we're planning for the short term, and hopefully kind of wait and watch as we move forward from there.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And Cindy, we'll go back to you here. Here's an interesting question we have. What are you looking most forward to doing once quarantine is over and everything is safe? Which may be a very long time from now, but let's say relatively over for the most part, as in the vaccine, everything kind of gets back to the new normal that we'll have to experience. So what's the first thing that you're looking forward to?
Probably moving into my apartment in DC in January 2021. That's what I'm going to be looking forward to. That's probably the next time I'm going to leave my house. So, I mean, honestly, I it's hard to tell. Like I said, my concern every day, listen, I love meeting people. I'm an extrovert in the 99th percentile, and I love going out to restaurants and connecting. I'm the last person to leave every single place I go. Sorry, all my friends who have overstayed my welcome, but that's true because I love connecting with people. But here's the thing, to save my daughter's life, I will stay in this house as long as I need to, and it doesn't bother me. If I have to meet everybody from now until January 21st, 2021 via Zoom, via Skype, via GoToWebinar, that's what I'm doing. Because I don't have this compulsion to run out to the beach, although I love the beach, because it's gonna potentially, be my daughter's life. So I'm gonna stay here and fighting, but I will take drinks in the Hawking Dove off Cap Hill in DC, January 22nd, 2021.
Okay, good. For sure, no joke. I might be wearing a mask still, but that's just, I like wearing a mask. I wore a mask before this whole So let's go to you, Chris. Let's go back to you again. What is it? One thing that you're looking forward to doing once this is all over? And I know that this is a long time out, but it's a positive thought, and it's big use of positivity. So what do you look forward to doing here, Chris?
Well, at this point, the big thing that I'm holding on to is seeing my grandparents again.
Right. Understood. And that's
I would love to give you the whole answer about everything else going on, but that's the big thing at the front of my mind right now is they make it through this, I make it through this, we get to see each other again.
And I hope that too. I do. Alan, same question going to you. Any skills, the different question for you actually. It scrolled up, I'm learning. What skills did you build that you didn't know you had before quarantine?
Public broadcasting.
One of those things that you just have to acclimate to. Now, is there anything that you look forward to doing after?
This district has had true representation for 20 years, and so I'm really looking forward to going to DC and actually working on that. We have a governor who just put a bill on, but a congressman who just put a bill on the floor to get rid of the EPA. We have a congressman who just voted against the pandemic relief funds. We had a congressman who voted against hurricane aid relief funding twice. So we don't really have a friend in him. So I'm just looking forward to getting to work and actually improving the quality of life for everyone here in Florida.
Oh, excellent. This is from a listener in Los Angeles. They say that I live in, and this is from Maya, I live in Los Angeles, but how can I help Florida, Tennessee, and Maryland Dems from home?
Well, that's very simple. You go to nodemleftbehind.com. That makes it a lot easier for us. It's split between all of us candidates, so the bigger the donation, the more happier we are to support our coalition, have more guests on, and continue doing the great work that we do together. Because we want to make all these red districts completely blue, and we can't do that without continued support.
Absolutely. And what's something that you're looking forward to doing after the pandemic subsides or is over with?
Well, I'm looking to return back to DC, continue advocacy with you and Peter. Y'all are more than welcome to come and join us. I'll be steam cleaning the office once Harris leaves. That's if I win. If not, we just repeat this cycle until he's actually gone. He doesn't believe in term limits, but he says he does, so he has to go. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
And this question is going to be for Alan. What do you believe the problem? This is just random. What do you believe? There it is. Nice. See, look at Cindy's screen. There you go. Boom. What do you believe the proper response is to what's happening in Michigan right now? If you're not aware, there have been armed people who have, I guess, stormed or they've gotten into the Capitol building. They're protesting actively, no masks. Not everybody's wearing a mask or not an appropriate kind of facial covering. There's a lot of that going on. What do you think is the proper response to that?
This is my first time hearing about this, but if they are doing that, I think the governor should step in, reach the president, and get some type of armed forces in there to rectify the situation. Because not only are they putting people's lives in danger with weapons, but they're also putting people's lives in danger health-wise. So we can't afford anything like that. We have to take that very seriously. But thank you for the question. I mean, I haven't heard anything about that, but I will definitely look into it.
Yeah, no, and it's obviously troubling when they, you're not sure exactly what's gonna happen. I can tell you that it's interesting who can get away with what, and I really wish that Trump would announce it. If you had said that's the key to this, he can end it immediately, because most of these people support him and they were inspired by his tweet. Cindy, same question to you. In regards to Michigan, how do you think that we should be responding? That's for you.
Oh, sorry, I was a little bit choppy there. So I'm actually Michigan native. That's why I was like, please let me answer, because I live in Florida, but like a lot of people moved from the snow here. So, but anyway, that's horrifying. The whole thing has been horrifying. I actually lived in Lansing for several years, and coincidentally was calling people for donations in Michigan today, one of whom was a state senator, totally by coincidence, who was in there when they stormed the chambers. And it was their staff, and we were talking about it, it was horrifying that people were allowed to get in and do this, that there wasn't some sort of way to stop them, and frankly, that they had done this before. They had actually done this 2 or 3 times already, and that it just keeps getting more and more agitated and more violent. The other thing that people were saying is that, of course, hey, by the way, these are all white guys with AR-15s. So let me tell you about the last time that a black man walked up to the Lansing Capitol with an AR-15. Oh, wait a minute, that doesn't happen, because that person would have immediately been shot and dragged away to jail. And I'm telling you, I worked in communities in Lansing with students and young people of color, and there was no get away with anything like that. But the people, the white militia folks in Michigan, they seemingly go unchecked, and it's not fair. It's an example of systemic racism, and frankly, it's intimidation that's being funded by conservative operatives. And it's really something that we need to not only speak out against, but we also need to make sure that we do have leadership that's speaking out against it. And frankly, the governor and the National Guard should start taking care to protect the people who are representing all of the same people in the state of Michigan.
Right, and the police officers that have to stand in line of duty in between them, the state troopers, and everybody that, who's sick and who's not. And like, at what point are you doing that? And who are you screaming at? What are you going to accomplish with that? Because not one governor anywhere has bent in any way due to these protesters. No one, not even one person across the board. Maya, what about, what's your thoughts on this in Michigan?
Well, serving with the DC National Guard and being in a state capital and seeing what has happened before in Annapolis, I would be like on Allison and be like, yo, we got to get this National Guard out here. Bring them in. Get the armored vehicles. Get them out of our state house. We saw tweets today where people were wearing their body armor just to go to work. For us in Annapolis, we can just escape through the tunnels to the parking garage and be safe. But I don't know about them. You know, we wouldn't accept them in the balcony. We wouldn't accept them in DC. They would definitely be hauled away by the Secret Service or Park Police. We don't stand for that. You know, if you want to demonstrate, you know, you can go to Virginia, you can go to Texas where you can do this, but don't do it. It's not responsible. Especially when you go out there in full militia gear with an AR-15. To me, that's PID. As an infantry person, that is positive identification. You're seeking to do harm to somebody else, not protest. So your life is jeopardized once you do that. It doesn't matter what skin, color, race, whatever. If you bring out that "don't tread on me," that Confederate flag, the AR-15 and everything else, we know you're demonstrating. But do it peacefully and leave your weapon at home, please, for the love of God. You are going to get hurt.
There's a lot of people out there, and also, you know, I know friends that are in security that are not, you know, they're not having a time. So for them, Chris, what about you? How about Michigan? What are your thoughts on things that are happening like that across the country?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned across the country, because I read about this briefly on my way home from work, and that's exactly what it reminded me of. All the way back to, I want to say mid last year, or no, it was the end of last year, when the 3%ers came out and started defending all these random state senators that had decided to abandon their duties and were called back in and being hauled in by cops. But it's, like you said, it's very interesting to see the demographics of folks that get away with this as opposed to the people who would immediately be either put down or taken down. And it's lawlessness, and it's people trying to take us right back to the Wild West era, and we don't need any of this nonsense. If you want to call yourself a law-abiding citizen, and believe me, I'm the first person to stand up for Second Amendment rights, act like a law-abiding citizen. Don't stand there, put everybody in your area's health at risk, and try to intimidate folks just because, your public parks were closed too long? You can't go get drunk at your local bar for a little while? Grow up. Just act like an adult and care about the rest of the world for a little while. It's not that much to ask.
Right. And Alan, Chris, Cindy, and Maya, thank you so much. I appreciate your time tonight. I think they're moving on to the second round of candidates. But in case you missed anything tonight, I'll be tweeting out all their websites separately this evening, and so we'll make sure that you know exactly. Thank you all for this.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
And thank you for having us, Scott. We appreciate your time.
Hey, Devin.
Hey, Devin. Switching over here. All right. Amy, can you hear me? Oh, I was muted.
I can. Can you hear me?
It's going all right. You know, it's I'm a lucky one. I'm safe. I'm healthy, and I'm isolated. So my internet works. So that's another positive. And I have power, and food, and water. So the basics are here. It's a good start. I figure if we can go around real quick to talk about just introducing yourselves. If we could start with Jamie, if you could introduce yourself and say your district that you're running in and what area that's around.
Yeah, so Jamie Cheek, I'm running for Utah's 1st Congressional District. Because of gerrymandering, we're the only district that doesn't touch Salt Lake County. But we are running to flip the seat. It's been held by the same Republican for 9 years, and he's retiring. So we have a real chance to flip it, and we're putting in the work to do that.
And Devin?
Yes, my name is Devin Andy. I am running in Georgia's 9th District, and the 9th District is, the capital of the 9th District would be Gainesville, and I am running first I was running against Doug Collins, but since he has decided to run for Senate, now I'll be running against one of 9 Republicans that are running on the Republican side.
Take your pick. They're all going to be interesting.
That's a big list.
We'll see what comes out of that, and good luck to them taking on a guy who's in the military for over 10 years. That's appreciate your service, and if I miss anybody else on here, that's my fault. If you serve the military, please highlight that to me. Sorry, before I screw up names here, Natalie, it is your turn. Go ahead.
Sure. I'm Natalie Klein. I'm running in West Virginia's 1st Congressional District against a long-term Republican incumbent who has not had a downfall in over 10 years. There are 20 counties in this district, and we were very excited to be on our path to visiting all of them before we ended up having social distance due to COVID-19. So we're focused on putting West Virginia first, as well as everyone's health and safety.
And Mr. Moscato, Michael, how are you tonight? Tell everybody.
My name is Michael Moscato, and I'm running for United States Congress in Arizona's 8th District, which is the district that I'm born and raised in. And my opponent is one of the enablers for Mr. Trump, Debbie Lesko, and she's been my representative here for 12 years in a district that, for my 36 years of life, has never seen a Democratic representative. But everyone out there, regardless of political party, I can assure you that in the history of this state, there has never been a more representative candidate of a district than me. And I believe our hometown and our country are always worth fighting.
Thank you, Michael. And Jamie, we'll come back to you for the first question here. This question is for everybody. Trump and his administration are still supporting the lawsuit to destroy ACA, even under COVID-19. There is also a proposed rule to create barriers for people on Social Security disability. Are there any thoughts that you have on this in regards to the campaign that you're running? Jamie, I'm not sure your stance is on this, but I'm almost certain that I know what they are. If you could share your thoughts.
Yeah, so one of the biggest issues for us is healthcare. We want it to be more accessible. It needs to be more affordable. I work for the state of Utah. I work with people with disabilities. So every single day we are working with individuals who don't have access to healthcare but have real medical needs. They get kicked off of Medicaid because of work requirements. They can't get on it because of failure to expand it. We see people falling through the cracks because they make just barely over the poverty level. So they can't get Medicaid, but they can't afford anything off the marketplace. So it is disappointing that Utah, our Attorney General, is part of that lawsuit to remove the individual mandate. I wish we weren't. I wish he was more aware of the issues that actually affect Utahns. So that's one of the things that I've talked about is, if elected, something that I would try to get us to do is to move away from being a part of that lawsuit. So yeah, definitely all about healthcare, making sure that individual mandate is there, because that's how we move the needle on health insurance, that we have to have a strengthened mechanism so that we can think of more progressive ideas like Medicare for all or public option. The only way we get there is by keeping the best parts of ACA and Obamacare so that we can continue to move forward.
Devin, in Georgia, how do you deal with the question? I've spent a lot of time working in there, and I have friends that have told me, like, well, I don't like Obamacare, but I like ACA. I like the benefits of ACA. It's the same kind of question. And I'm not specified Georgia specifically. That's just where they're from. My question being, how do you I guess, how do you best, what do you imagine is the best way to propose healthcare change into this new Congress based on the coronavirus? And I know that it's early, but any kind of broad scope as to how we can make our healthcare better?
Well, yes, actually, for right now, expanding Medicaid would be great. And for later on, when it comes down to it, I believe that there should either, I will support either an affordable healthcare plan or a universal healthcare plan. Either one will work for me, whatever helps the people. If we have to start with the affordable part and go into the universal, then that's fine as well. But I also feel that the government shouldn't be telling everyone what insurance they must use. So we can't just have one universal healthcare. There should be an opt-out option or an opt-in option, meaning that you are automatically enrolled into universal healthcare, but you also get to choose whether or not you want to get private healthcare insurance on the side. That's totally up to you. Nothing changes with your universal healthcare. It's there if you want it. It's there if you don't. I believe that that's the way to go.
And Natalie, what are your feelings about how Trump and his administration is still supporting the lawsuit? They didn't reopen the Obamacare markets for everybody. They could have done a lot of things that would have helped a lot of people. Probably be less scared about getting tested. More proponents of their health. Are there any things that you think you would have done better or recommended Trump done, based on what's happening right now in our healthcare system?
Keep the Affordable Care Act and work to improve it instead of dismantle it. I can't believe that it's 2020 now and we're still fighting about our right to health care. That baffles me every single day. One of the hot button issues for me in this race is healthcare. I live at the epicenter of the opioid epidemic. So combine that with the fact that we are a rural district, we are already at a disadvantage to not being able to access the healthcare that we need, let alone afford it. And you compound addiction, the fact that we are a high-risk population already with diabetes and elderly demographic, and now we have COVID, and I cannot understand why people don't want healthcare. That is our largest fight. We have actually proposed what we're calling the Family Reinvestment Act, which will help establish clinics and mental health programs instead of watching our medical facilities close. Because this district has seen 4 close in the last 6 months, and for one of our counties, that was the only hospital that they had. So we need to work to get rid of the barriers to healthcare in this country.
I agree. And Michael, same question to you. In general, where do you stand on Trump and his administration still keeping this lawsuit open to try and get rid of the ACA? Should we keep the ACA? Is it something that we can develop on? Where do you think we should go from here?
Well, when we talk about healthcare, and I'm in a district that has a large senior population, so it's amplified in terms of need regarding the COVID situation. But when we talk about healthcare and health insurance, what I really want to focus on is the care part of actually what is the coverage that we're receiving for what we're paying. And I'll tell you what plan I want. I want the plan that all these members of Congress have, which is access to immediate and full service health care. And how are they getting that? They're getting that because our hard work and sweat equity and dedication to our fellow men and women of the country pay for their benefits. So it's possible to do this. We see this with military service. We see this with unions getting together. We see these groups combining resources. And what's interesting is the solution can't be to say that, well, this healthcare plan isn't perfect, but I don't have my own healthcare plan. The solution can't be to fight up over partisan lines for the next 10 years while nothing gets done, because as we're seeing in this pandemic, all the work that didn't get done because people were pointing fingers at each other has now put us in a situation where people are dying. They're staying at home even and they're dying in their homes because they don't have the ability to access health care. What I did very early on was I put forth my own proposal that I called AmeriCare. Imagine that, care for Americans. And it's based off of building upon the ACA. And I will give you two quick things that when we talk about, we can't reduce healthcare costs, Scott. Well, number one, I don't know about you guys, but I could go without watching another prescription drug commercial that ends with, I'm going to get diarrhea or die of heart failure. So if we want to eliminate a third of the cost of prescription drug medications, let's stop airing these commercials, okay? Let's let our doctors decide the medication that fits us best. Let's also talk about how much money we spend on administration costs because 1,000 different private insurances want to code and bill in their own way instead of serving the customer and making sure that we get it done. We can save trillions of dollars on our healthcare system. We can reduce costs for employers, take that burden off of them. We can reduce costs for individuals and families. We can do all of this, but as usual, the way we do that is we replace the people in office, and that's why we're all here today, is to show people that it starts with new people in these positions of representation.
Absolutely, Michael. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. We're going to switch gears away from healthcare. There's a question from the crowd that says they want to talk about Michael Flynn. Just as a little background real quick, in November of 2016, I filed with my group the complaint with the Inspector General's office against Michael Flynn the same day that the late great Chairman Cummings sent a letter to Mike Pence notifying him that he was a foreign agent that was paid by Russia and Turkey. Very explicit, very clear. And so I just want to give you that quick background. So it is personal to me. Them and outlets of their family made threats against me and other people I know. They obviously, his son went ahead and called me fake news, which I wore as a badge of honor. But I wanted to see everybody's kind of response in regards to what are your thoughts on the potential pardon of Flynn, especially with you, Devin. Let's start with you. What are your thoughts about the pardon of Flynn? I'm not sure how much you know about the situation, but being a veteran, what are your thoughts on everything that's going on? Basically, Trump is saying he may pardon Flynn, or they're going to try and use this as I'm not sure exactly what, but this is a person who pled guilty and cooperated with the federal government. And it was over the thing that I had filed a complaint over. So anyways, the background there being clear, to me at least. But Devin, what are your thoughts about Michael Flynn?
All right, so yes, as a military veteran who held a top secret clearance, what I can tell you is, and I'm probably about to say something very controversial. So before I say it, let me preface by saying I am a Democrat. I espouse the Democratic values. However, when I heard about Hillary Clinton's emails, I was upset. And if it happened that she was found to be guilty of anything with that, I would have supported whatever judgment came along. It is serious. It is a lot more. Those emails are a lot more serious than people probably realize, despite how much it was thrown out of proportion. With that being said, Michael Flynn said himself that if he did half of what the Clintons did, he would be in jail. And he has done hundreds of times worse than what they did. What
especially with stuff
Hillary Clinton was accused of doing potentially put the security of the United States at risk. What Flynn did absolutely put the security of the United States at risk. So having that pardon power, it's constitutional. Well, it's constitutional, but it's his right. If he does it, there's not much we can do about it, but I will absolutely voice my opposition to it. I swore to defend the Constitution of the United States against enemies, foreign and domestic. He has proven himself a domestic enemy. He needs to be treated as such.
Good. Now, and I think it should be okay to be able to talk about the past and re-examine it, and everybody's got different opinions on what that is, and I'm glad that you stand where you are, and you know, at least you know what you believe in, and you're not waffling, you know, so that's something that can be respected. And I understand as well that we don't make mistakes like that on the Hill. We don't make mistakes like that usually. So, you know, egregious mistake, sure, but everybody, you know, you're welcome to your opinion, Devin, and we'll debate about it later. But Jamie, what are your thoughts about the Michael Flynn situation? And you know, I guess Trump does a little bit of treatment of security, you know, as he's been so far, you know, basically doing diplomacy via tweet.
So as somebody who just barely got to Twitter in like August, he is overwhelming, and it is scary to see that there's no read. It's just whatever comes out of his mouth, and the fact that there are foreign countries, and that's literally the only way they get any information about our foreign policy is off of his tweets. It's literally terrifying. But as to Michael Flynn, wow. First of all, there's no surprise left in where he will dive down to the, you know, lowest of the lows to free his friends who did him solids. And so I feel like if there's not enough of a public backlash, if there is not enough of us being like, you cannot do this, he's going to just keep going down the chain, and this is just going to be the first of many. And it's going to embolden people to not speak out when they see these things, because we see, you know, Colonel Vindman getting punished, and the people, you know, it's just sort of insulating a terrible president who's doing terrible things to Americans. And so this is just, it would be terrible for America. It'd be terrible for our criminal justice system. And so I wish he wouldn't. And the only way we get him to not do those things is we vote in November to kick him out, so we can put a good person in the White House.
No, wonderful, Jamie. I appreciate that. And Michael, is there anything specific revisiting Flynn again? I know you have some thoughts about him, but what do you think about that situation? Just building White House, just overall. You know, what are your thoughts on General Flynn's situation, or former? I'm not sure what we call him now, but what are your thoughts on Flynn?
I come from a New York Italian family. My roots go back to Dunkirk, New York, in the boxing industry, where my grandfather was the second-ranked heavyweight in the world back in the days of Rocky Marciano. To say that I'm familiar with how the mob works is an understatement. And when we're talking about what we've been witnessing, it's bullying, it's knowing what you have control of and what you have power over, and exploiting it. And you know, we've pointed out whether it's Vindman or our Navy, you know, service members, we've seen that repeatedly the people who are there in positions of accountability have been removed. And we've seen that the people who have disgraced our nation and put our security at risk have been, you know, promoted within the Twitter sphere and on public media. And it's not an accident. I hope he does pardon him. I hope he pardons him, and I hope he pardons Roger Stone, and I hope he pardons every single person who has been held accountable by our judicial system. Because it will make very clear without exception that we are all being fleeced as to who our leadership is and who they represent. Because that's what it's come down to. It's come down to, are we going to trust people in positions of power that involve our lives? Look, we have 62,000 people plus who have died in the last 6 weeks, maybe less than 6 weeks. I haven't even seen a tweet regarding any sort of empathy for the 62,000 Americans who lost their lives. My younger brother is a service member. I have friends who are service members. The actions and the lack of credibility and the credible threats that are working in our U.S. government against our interests put all of our lives and all of our safeties and all of our futures at risk. So he should be held accountable. Flynn has already had his day in court. It's too late to walk that back. And I know they love to point fingers at James Comey and everybody else, but I know that James Comey and others have served our country for decades as public servants, while the person in office lived in a golden condominium, failing to pay his contractors and failing to do any sense of duty to anyone other than himself and his family. So I know whose side I'm on, and it's not my opponent, and it's not the people who are in office. And I hope that come November 3rd, that Americans wake up to who really cares about them and who doesn't.
And Natalie, I think Michael brought up a great point. What do you think about Trump's coronavirus response?
What response?
There you go. I agree. No one agrees more than me. Trust me. But yeah, what are your thoughts? That is probably the best answer I've heard.
We look to leadership in times like this, and we don't have that. We don't have that at every level of our government, and we desperately need it. And it is atrocious that it is taking a global pandemic to highlight this. And this pandemic is highlighting so many problems with our system and all of its failures. So I really hope I'm echoing the same sentiments of our colleagues here that we see a huge change come November.
No, I agree. And if this is for the last question, so y'all are not on the hot seat for much longer. This is a tough one, so prepare yourself. We'll wrap back around here. Natalie, you'll lead off. Then we'll go to Michael. This is for everyone. Y'all are running in solid Republican areas. That's what they are noted as. And I know that some of you would tell me, oh, well, it's different. The numbers are different. Lots of independents. But you know, it's a red area done by maps. So what makes you think you can win?
Am I leading this off?
Yes, sorry. Go ahead, yes.
So, you know, don't set West Virginia aside. We have historically risen up. We were there for the Civil Rights Movement. We left Virginia over the Civil Rights Movement. We are the reason that this nation has unions to begin with. We fought at Blair Mountain. We fought at Meat One. These were actual battles in order to get fair pay and justice treatment for our workers. We will continue to rise up. We saw it a couple of years ago when our teachers inspired a nation with strikes. We are going to continue to do it. We are, by all accounts, Native West Virginians at heart, and it's one of those weird things everybody says, oh, well, that's unique to my state. Well, if you've ever met someone from West Virginia, we value West Virginia more than we value any political party. So I think that right now, all of the issues that we've briefly mentioned here that are being highlighted by this pandemic will also help to show what leadership is and who we need to look to come November.
And Michael, what are your thoughts? What makes you think you can win in your red district?
Yeah, so 2018 cycle was the first cycle of politics here in Arizona's West Valley that the Democratic Party put any sort of financial investment into candidate. And we had a great candidate in Harold Tipernini who lost this, what was once considered an R23 district. She lost it by 4.5%. And we've seen across the country Democrats winning races where they're out R10, R12, R15. Those districts are swinging. Now, I ran for state senate in the largest legislative district in this congressional district back in 2016, and I ran on what was called a clean elections budget. So that means that I was limited to $42,000 total dollars for this election against a 14-year incumbent. And prior to myself, no Democratic candidate had ever received more than 21,000 votes. And in that election, and I don't think I need to remind you, that was the year Donald Trump won the presidency, in the county, my hometown, that gave Trump more votes than any other county in the country, I received just shy of 40,000 votes. And what was shocking about that was that only 21,000 Democrats voted in that election. So I nearly doubled up the Democratic vote total by getting the votes from independents and Republicans. And now here we are in 2020, the political climate all over the country is tired of the way things have been. My opponent's been in office for 12 years, hasn't got any of our needs met. I'm a small business owner. My business has been closed for the last 7 weeks. I'm right there with the other millions of businesses who have been devastated by these effects. I'm right there with the young families. Our district has transitioned from a mostly senior district to now we're predominantly Hispanic and predominantly young families that are representing our future instead of the way things used to be. And our polling, along with Mark Kelly's polling against Martha McSally, Arizona is a swing district. We have 11 electoral college votes. We have attention that's going to be paid. Trump is trailing Joe by more than 10 points in this district. So we have the information there. We're looking great, and I hope she keeps doing what she's doing, because I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I'm pretty confident in November, with the support of Democratic donors, that we will get this done and make history.
I agree. I didn't forget about her all, but it's in my memory banks. She was one of the races we targeted for special elections, including Connor Lamb, which was in Pennsylvania, and Doug Jones. So I actually do know your district pretty well, and then there's some good people out there that I got to send you some names later.
I look forward to it. It's a presidential election, so I know money's different than off-year elections, but I'm more than confident that if we even get half of the financial support she got, we will get this done, because my opponent's not raising money. She's not getting the support from the people, and it's all there in the FEC reports for people to check.
I am not a fan of hers. I'm not sure if that's ever been made clear to you, but
You've lived with her for a third of your life, so I can assure you, I'm ready. I'm ready.
And Jamie, what about you? What makes you think you could pull this off in a red district?
Yeah, there's two things. One, we don't have an incumbent. The primary on the Republican side still has 4 people that they have to sort out come June 30th. In Utah, in a red state, they always say you have to be a moderate Democrat. That's the only way you can win. And what do? We nominate moderate Democrats just for them to lose. So I'm the progressive voice. I'm the only true Democrat that's running in the Democratic primary. I have progressive values. I have values that Utahns care about. And so we just need to get the message to the voters and give somebody for people to be excited about, to want to register to vote, to want to mail in their ballots come June 30th. So we are that presence. We are that excitement. We are the difference. We're going against the norm. And I think that we have a real shot. We're putting together our path to victory right now. We have the votes with just independents and Democrats. And that doesn't even include flipping any Republicans who are tired of hearing the state corruption from our elected representatives. So we can be that difference maker. And that's why we can flip the first in November.
And Devin, what about you? What makes you think you can win down there in Georgia? Obviously, I think it's possible for all of you, just to be clear. But Devin, what are your thoughts?
Well, thank you for that. I hope that there are many more like you that think that it is possible, because it is. I am actually approaching this from 2 prongs. One is winning my race, of course, absolutely winning my race. However, I'm also looking at this from a team perspective. So as Democrats, we're all on the same team. So it's not just about whether or not Devin Pandy can win the 9th district. It's also about whether or not a Raphael Warnock, and Ed Tarver, a Teresa Tomlinson, or Stacey Abrams can win the entire state. Often when people are considering whether to donate to a candidate or not, they want to know if they can win. But it's more complicated than that, especially in a battleground state like Georgia. So take Stacey Abrams. She lost her gubernatorial election by just 50,000 votes. That's not a lot of votes. 50,000 votes. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I am playing to win. But when you're that close to changing the trajectory of a state, every vote matters. So my job is not only to win my district, but to increase voter turnout across the 9th district so that the races that they're running, the state races that they're running, are made much more winnable. I'm a pretty creative guy, and I can turn a little into a lot. But if I can just bring out 5,000 more voters than normal in North Georgia, that's 5,000 votes that a statewide campaign can now count on. So imagine if we did that in every district in Georgia. So I believe that Georgia's 9th is ready to start examining its options in this playing field. Northeast Georgia we've taken a back seat to other areas of the state for a long time. And I have to admit, right now, we're really feeling ourselves. The Democrats here are very organized. But I also believe that a vote for Devin Bandy and every single dollar that goes to the Devin Bandy for Congress campaign does more to flip Georgia blue in terms of value than if that vote or that dollar goes anywhere else. So 50,000 votes, that's the goal. The goal is to clear that. The goal is to keep the House and flip the Senate. That's what I'm trying to do.
Wonderful. I want to thank you all, the first round of candidates, Alan, Chris, Maya, and Cindy, and thank y'all, Michael, Natalie, Jamie, and Devin. I appreciate your time tonight. Everybody listening at home, I hope that you're safe. I hope that you're well, and I really hope that everyone is taking care of themselves. And so focus on self-care. Try to ignore any of the manic kind of bursts that come out of the White House, and try and take care of each other, because it's going to be a long few months here, no matter what we say. Cindy, did you have someone who wanted to say hi before we go?
Yeah, here's little Evie. I think she got ice cream in her hair while I was on camera, but she's ready for bed now. But
aww.
Hi, Evie.
She's our warrior princess. We're staying home for her. We're staying home for her, and we're fighting for her every single day. Aren't we? We go out and hit the bags, don't we? Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and she's right. I do have my life as well that I care about, and I just would like to say, I don't know how y'all do it. To parents out there, obviously we pay teachers. That's a conversation for a different night. I want to thank Know That Left Behind. Make sure to visit them. Again, I'll be sending out, making very clear who was on tonight with us. And thank you for joining us from home. Stay safe and appreciate it. Again, look at the bottom right here with the Act Blue. We'll send out that link as well. 25,200 back. No. So I appreciate everyone's time. Anything else?
That's it. Thanks a lot, Scott.
Thanks so much, Scott. We appreciate you.
Help us digital fundraise.
Questions. Sorry if we didn't get around to your questions today, but you can join us next week and we'll try to get around to all of them. Thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Well, good evening, everybody. As you see, we have had an amazing town hall, and it makes a huge difference when we are together doing this, no matter if it's a red district, a half red district like mine. It is about making sure that we get all of those votes out there to count. So thankfully, we don't have to have people show up and put in a ballot. They are definitely going to be out there, and they're going to be voting by mail. So you can definitely join us, okay? It is super easy to make sure that you do this.
go to miadmason.com, all right? Volunteer for us. It makes life a lot better for everybody. No Dem Left Behind has been a great sponsor with us since November when their coalition came together with all of us. We've seen candidates come and go where they've won, and we are coming close. We're about 35 plus days away from our primary, the final primary pretty much for the entire nation, and we're looking forward to eventually going to the DNC, supporting Joe Biden, and bringing our coalition of everybody in No Dem Left Behind. However, we can't do that without actually sending the mail. So if you go to miadmason.com/postage, it'll take you directly to where you can do whatever you need to make sure that we can send the mail so that people can actually know who we are, so that when they get their ballot in the mail, they know who they're voting for. And I see we have a simple question. I don't know who Leo is. Okay? And what's happening in the background? Well, that is my stuff back there. This is my studio. I represent Maryland and America. So it is just one of those wonderful things there. I got LEDs back there. I can make those flash and go back and forth. But for Cheeky, we are also making sure that everybody is social distancing. We got our big 95 masks. We ordered it in February. It finally came in all the way here at the end of April. So if you think about your supply chain coming in from overseas, it's a good 3 months before it gets here. So help us make a difference. Share this, give it a like, a thumbs up, whatever you need to get the information out there to get everything done. So we are going to be doing a town hall on this coming Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. my regularly scheduled time to spend some time with you, give you the update from over the weekend, because we're going to see what happens when these people protest all the way from Fredericktown to Salisbury. So that's going to be happening all this weekend. It's like going to be a 3-day event with them, because they're also going to be stopping in Annapolis. They are trying to reopen Maryland against Governor Hogan, who is very, very, very central. If he likes a bill, he signs it. If he's okay with the bill, he lets it go. If he's completely against it, he will vote it or veto it, as he's supposed to. So I'm glad Larry Hogan is actually standing up to Representative Harris. He's standing up with all the other governors throughout the entire country as the United States to basically tell Trump he is pretty much, and he's gone cuckoo. That's the way we need to get him back into Walter Reed, take him up to the 7th floor and get him checked out again. But that's enough about that. That's enough about me tonight. We definitely know that Trump is a loser. So we will be glad to see you out there with us in the fight. Like I said, it's very simple for you to just come in and join us and volunteer. So let's remind people of why we are fighting. Tell you where I've been and what I've done. It makes a huge difference when you actually see what's going on. And this is my story. It's really short and simple. Thank you for Now News to bring this to you today. Well, that was simple. It didn't want to play. I know it works. I've done this like every week. So with that, y'all have a great time, a great night, and we look forward to seeing you in the future supporting us as your representative when you visit us in DC. Bless you. Have a great night. Bye. I'm Ian Mason. I'm running for Congress. Our voters are at the helm in 2020 because our education has failed us. Our infrastructure has failed us. With your driving force, we can fix that, especially in our healthcare, because your vote actually matters and you have the choice in 2020. I'm Ian Mason, and I approve this message.